Hello, everyone, dear YEBI community. I'm happy to have Dr. Miro Lubetsky today with me for giving an interview, the first interview of a couple of series, basically, of episodes for positive health. Let me first introduce Miro. Miro is a medical advisor of Vienna Positive Psychology School. Miro is a very admired member of our YEBI community. He's one of the 3 hosts of Positive Health Hub. And so I'm happy to have him here. Let me give a few words for his background so that you get to know him. Miro Lubetsky is, his background is medicine. He's a psychologist. He is in sports very much. He is playing tennis as far as I know. He's loving nature and, as he says, a happy person. He has developed his own concept of positive coaching, which part of it is consisting of the so-called 7S. We're gonna take a deeper dive in our series in what is 7S and take some time in every episode to talk about each and every element of those 7, which are the first S is sun, then it is sports, sex, smile, sleep, self-realization, and self-discipline. So these are the 7S, which Miro and I are gonna talk about in more detail in every episode. A very warm welcome to you, dear Miro.
Thank you very much. Thanks for agreeing to conduct this interview, and also for the English language, which is still a little bit easier for me than using German. But in case of any kind of questions or discussions, I can use both German and English and some other languages as well. But thanks for agreeing to doing it in English. I'm writing the book in English. That's why it's also like more natural to use this language.
Okay, so yes, I think I mentioned you're actually writing a book where one of the cornerstones is the 7S concept. It obviously has to do with positive health, and our listeners are very interested in learning more about it. And so we decided, and I'm happy you agreed, to do a series, to do an interview series where you introduce in more detail each of the 7S's. And today, this episode is all about sun. It's wintertime. I'm happy it's starting with sun.
Yeah.
I've started in advance a little bit. It's more than sun. But let me ask you, what and why is sun so essential for us as human beings?
You know, so I thought about how I should name this part of the book, and I think that I could as well use the name or the word nature. I believe the sun is the beginning of everything, as we know, but we know it kind of theoretically. We know, we learned it at school, and we know that without the sun, the life on Earth would not be ever possible. The beginning of life would not be possible. But when we realize, even in more detail, you know, like even if we are vegetarian and eat only the plants, it's very clear that the plants would not be able to produce any substance without the sun, because we know for the chlorophyll needs sun in order to produce any biomaterial, and then all the animals, including human beings, benefit from it. So without the sun, without the water, without the fresh air, the life would not exist. It sounds maybe a little bit trivial and banal, but de facto it's so very true that we know it, but we kind of forgot about sticking to the very basic principle of being in the nature, like most of the time or enough time. The man of the 21st century spends most of his time indoors. And that's why I chose the sun symbolically, like, let's be outside first. Let's get a chance to enjoy the sun. And if we go out, we also enjoy the fresh air. And then there is more chance that we will also touch the clean water, that they will go for excursion, that we will have some movement, physical exercise, and so on. So this is like the inviting to be outside. So when we have the direct contact with the sun, a lot of things happen because it forces us to be out there in the nature. So that's why I believe the sun as the first principle or the first source of energy and life is a beautiful beginning of the journey to personal health, of vitality, like this is the new proposal, as you remember from the last Congress, where Martin Seligman said that maybe the concept of PERMA needs to be enlarged, and maybe additional letters might be added, and it's still a little bit controversial. Which letters should it be? Which term should we use? And some people would say that depending on the language, different concepts are better. But vitality, I believe, at least in English, sounds great, and it's for me a little bit more than health. Health, many people still would intuitively understand as a lack of illness, but the word vitality suggests already that we are like kind of living the life to the full, you know, like being vital means like we have a lot of energy, enthusiasm, optimism. We want to do something. So I think it all begins with the energy, and in both in the psychological, but also in the very physical understanding. Like we need to take the energy from the nature, meaning directly from the sun, directly from the fresh water, from the fresh air, but also the diet for me, in my world, is part of this nature approach. So like eating only natural products that were by nature. Somebody said, eat only things that your grandmother would recognize and could name it.
Okay.
I think it's a very nice principle, because it's only the last 2 generations that we went so far away from the food that was like our source of nourishment for thousands of years. And only now we consume strange things in boxes, cans, plastic bags, and so on, which have very little to do with health and real nourishment.
And the origin, no? What you're talking about is very much back to the origin, no? And when I think of nutrition and of healthy food, it is again the sun, that without sun, no life, no vegetables, no fruits. So it all has dependencies, right?
Exactly. And there is this interesting heliotropic effect. I think it was also mentioned during the Congress by one of the speakers that all alive beings have the tendency to bend and to look for the sun. So if the sun is there, all plants, all animals, and also human beings naturally, we kind of forgot or unlearned this natural tendency. But typically, if the sun is coming, most people still have this little, oh, I will put my face to the sun just for a few seconds. I think there is this need in us, but sometimes being too scared because some dermatologists warn us about the skin cancer, which is absolutely relevant. So this is also part of the truth, and we should be careful. But then being careful should not mean avoiding sun altogether and sitting at home or indoors all the time. So we need balance. And of course, too much sun can be dangerous, as too much of anything, but not enough sun is equally or even more dangerous because of many aspects, including the famous aspect of vitamin D, which is not only crucial for the health of our bones and teeth, which everybody knows, but also for preventing many diseases, including heart and blood vessels, but also many neurological diseases. Generally, vitamin D is considered to be an extremely important part of our immune system. There's lots of studies around it, and without the sun, it's very difficult to have enough of vitamin D. Of course, there is artificial and natural sources like fish, like some other foods, and also capsules that we can swallow, which are, this is also a valid option, obviously. But what is more pleasant than getting this sun directly on our skin, and it's enough to have like 15 minutes a day.
Okay.
In most cases, depending also on our carnation of the color of the skin. Actually, the whiter the skin, the less time we need,
Yes.
because we don't have this natural barrier. But of course, we also have to be cautious, because the people with the white skin cannot stay too long. So we need a balance, but it's relatively easy to get this balance. Only on a very hot summer day, we should be very careful not to stay longer than half an hour or an hour. In the middle of the day, it might be too much. But like now in winter, we are in the middle of December in Vienna now. So even if you go for an hour or two, nothing will happen for sure, especially knowing that we can only expose maybe part of our face and maybe our hands. Otherwise, we are covered because of the temperatures. But even in winter, even standing for like a few minutes, I do it myself, like
Yeah.
when I go to work and I see the sun coming out of the clouds, I stop, I close my eyes. I don't care what the people will think that I'm doing. And I stay like 2, 3, 4 minutes, like kind of facing the sun and enjoying it, and to try to do a little bit meditation or thankfulness
Okay.
exercise, like being thankful for having this chance to enjoy the direct sun. For me,
Yeah.
it's a wonderful moment. And I think most of us have this option, but we rarely use it, I would say, when I talk to my
We rather
clients.
look at the absence, no? That's we
Absence
rather
of
notice
danger,
when
we
the
are
sun is not
cautious,
shining.
we are preventing a lot of things, but not, we lack the energy to enjoy the important things, to plan for it.
Enjoy is a good word, which really expresses also joy. Yeah, sun makes joy, in my opinion. It does good not only for the body, as you mentioned, but also for the soul, if you wish. Right?
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
I'm not a doctor, but I'm sure it has to do something with our
Yeah, it has a lot
hormones.
of
Yeah.
benefits. Absolutely. Also the mental health. I mean, we feel better. Most people experience it directly and realize that
Mm,
after spending
mm,
even a few minutes in the sun, if we enjoy it properly. But we need this awareness, we
yeah.
need to, like, if you are thankful and you really enjoy and spend this few minutes just for the sun,
Mm,
the impact will be immediate on
yeah.
your well-being. Yeah, but if you just do it and think about your problems, or you're anxious and think what can happen bad, or maybe I will get a skin cancer, or maybe something else happens, this is not the right
Approach. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
right way of enjoying the sun. So we have
Mm-hmm.
to be aware and be ready for the benefits, and they will come. We have to believe it, we have to plan for it, and just do it, with
Yeah.
this positive mindset, and then this can make wonders,
Mm-hmm.
miracles, really. But
Mm-hmm.
we need to give ourselves the chance, and that
Yeah.
the sun is there every day. Most of the sometimes we have a very, very cloudy day, of course, so there might be an exception, but still, if we measure the amount of light
Yeah.
outside
Mm-hmm.
comparing to the indoors, even on the most cloudy day, there is many, many times more light when we are outside comparing to
Mm-hmm.
a well-lighted indoor
Mm-hmm.
space. So
Mm-hmm.
remember about it. And also it's important for the, circadian rhythm, like
Mm-hmm.
that we have the light and darkness rhythm, we know it. And for many generations, people would get up in the morning and go outside. Like this is the standard, this is the normal thing. And now many people are indoors and they don't leave their home or house or apartment for many hours, and if at all, some
Yeah.
would stay many days inside, and then they cannot sleep because our circadian rhythm needs this exposure to a lot of light. The
Mm-hmm.
best way would be in the morning, and then less light in the evening, and it's a natural um, um, transition into the sleep phase. But if
Mm-hmm.
we don't give enough light in the morning and during the day, the organism is a little bit like doesn't know what's going on really, and doesn't get ready for sleeping because it's simply confused, but by the fact that we didn't give the amount of light that is like kind of designed for us as human beings, which should happen rather in the morning hours, like between, let's say, 6 and 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. or else, depending on what time you get up and go to work, or it can be also 9 o'clock, doesn't matter, but somewhere in the morning, more or less, or early afternoon, we should be outside for a few hours at best.
Yeah.
And then the circadian rhythm works, and the people who don't do it much more often have sleep disorders and problems to get asleep and so on, which then translates into many other mental issues. Because if you don't sleep well, it's very difficult to feel the vitality and to be energetic because you simply didn't regenerate.
Yeah, just the opposite.
Yes.
So no excuses, be it winter, be it summer.
Absolutely. Every
Human beings
single
need
day.
to be
Even
out.
on a cloudy day, there is not bad weather, it's only bad clothes, as the
Bad
Englishmen
clothes,
say. That's
right?
one of the things that I learned there. So you can
Okay.
always be prepared, and at least a half an hour we should find the time.
And you're
it's all
saying
for
also,
our benefit. We
you're
are
saying,
doing it for us.
right. And even light is enough, to see light, because it's necessary for our body and our whole system. Yeah. And to look with joy for sunny days or sunny moments and enjoy them rather than to be fearful is also a nice aspect.
Exactly. And then, like, unfortunately, the positive things about being in the sun are not so much exposed in mainstream media, because we as human beings, we kind of react more actively and read things that are like about preventing things or avoiding dangers, because this is how evolutionary we were built. Because people who were too relaxed and said, yeah, maybe nothing happens, they might be eaten by the saber thief tiger or some enemies from another tribe. So you should be cautious. At that time it was very rational to be rather more cautious than necessary, because the people who were not cautious didn't prolong their genes, because they were simply killed or eaten. But nowadays the probability that such thing will happen is rather low, as we know, at least in Western societies. So we don't need to be that cautious, and we should be more like enjoying all the things that for the people many generations ago, it was obvious that nobody had to remind them, please go outside. Because I mean, the first thing in the morning when they got up would be go outside and actually spend most of their day outside. That's how we are designed. That's how our organism needs it. And then now, only like a few decades, we change this paradigm, or we change the habits, and we spend more and more time indoors. But there is some critical mass, as long as we spend like this half an hour until an hour a day outside, it's kind of still okay. But if we like go below or don't leave home or our apartment at all, it's getting really dangerous, and it has consequences for both our physical health and mental health and our general well-being. So it's very difficult to be happy and healthy if we spend all our days indoors. So this is probably the main message, which I would like to convey with this sun issue, nature. Be outside, go outside, be outdoors.
Okay, and enjoy nature and everything that comes across, like you mentioned water, you mentioned green plants. I think green is also very good for the eye, to relax the eye.
Absolutely.
Get in touch with nature, animals, eat healthy. Was also one of the messages.
And we could do a separate podcast or episode of our interview about diet as well. But basically, in this general approach, like go for natural products, not avoid ultra processed food. So if you have a sticker and you need to read what is inside, it's already a problem. You go for something that is colorful, like the all veggies, that doesn't have a explanation what is inside, because this in itself shows already that we are on the wrong place. So some people eat meat, some don't. I don't want to start this discussion now, but things that are direct produce of nature are much better choice than all the artificial stuff. And then, of course, we can go into ecological stuff, the respect for the animals, or all kind of ecological plantations. This is very important. But the basic step is to avoid ultra processed food and fast food and junk food, as it's called many times. And for a good, the junk food, I think, is the best description.
Because it's really junk
the
for the
real
body.
value of these products.
Okay, wonderful. Miro, thank you. Thank you for this summary. Very well summarized what it's all about. The sun, one of the 7 S's of positive health in your conception. Thank you. We're looking forward to our next episode, which will be all about sports. And I'm very keen to understand more.
One of my favorite.
One of your favorites,
topics,
exactly.
and I'm already looking forward to sharing some thoughts and having a nice discussion with you about the sports.
Wonderful.
Second
Thank
S.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.